The novel is set in the bicentennial year of 1976. It's written primarily in two teenage voices, Ivy, a white girl, and Barry, a black boy. I'm going to read a little bit from each perspective, starting with Ivy, who is on a back-to-school shopping trip with her mom. As Roger said, the novel is entitled Blacklight, and this is from part 1, Mood Ring. A gold airship soared across my chest. In King's Junior's department, I stood in front of the three-way mirror, modeling a black t-shirt with Led Zeppelin spelled out in glitter. When I pivoted left and right, the mirror showed a million different sides of me, shifting like jewels in a kaleidoscope. You've had a growth spurt this year, Mama said, which was as close as she'd ever come to acknowledging my breasts. Her arms were loaded with frilly blouses that had gone out of style 200 years ago. If I'm going to shop in the bargain basement, I said, I intend to set my own style. Ivy, you will not wear that thing to school. I've never owned a black t-shirt before. I liked how white it made my skin. I was fair with white blonde hair, like Daddy's people. Mama's side was darker. She was always careful about me and the sun. She knew I didn't tan. I burned. I left Mama at the mirror and lost myself in the juniors department. Why was it clothes hanging on a circular rack looked better than the ones downstairs hanging in straight lines, let alone dumped into a cardboard box? I slid the hangers one by one like I could afford to shop here, like I wasn't dirtying the product just by handling it. I picked out a long-sleeve purple paisley blouse and carried it back to the three-way mirror. Mama watched me hold the cuffs in my hands and clamp the collar underneath my chin. It fit, I could tell. Mama snatched it away and checked the tag. This thing cost a day's wages, Ivy. Put it back. I just want to try it on. I held it out in front of me one more time and gazed at myself in the mirror like a paper doll with new paper clothes. I said, put it back. I did as I was told and carried the blouse back over to the rack. Nearby, the escalator unfolded its steps, plunging out of the air conditioning down to the bargain basement where I belonged. But I wasn't ready to go breathe that dank air yet. That's when I noticed the man over in the shoe department. He didn't see me. He was too preoccupied with the box of shoes he held and the salesman he was apparently waiting on. He wore a tall afro and a thin leather jacket a shade lighter than his skin, vibrating with impatience. He was very attractive. I stepped away from the rack of clothes so that he had a clear view. I turned first one profile to him and then the other, but he never noticed. He just kept holding that shoebox, biting his lip, bobbing his afro, checking his watch. When the curses started pouring from his lips, I recognized him. I'd seen him many times around Haley Creek. I didn't know his name, just his face. That's how it was with most black people in Haley Creek, unless they went to school with me. I felt the sway in my sway back deepen, waiting for him to notice me. But his eyes were fixed on the dim alcove that led to the storeroom, where they kept their hundreds, maybe thousands of shoes. Only then did I see the boy, my age, too old to be the man's son. They both wore extravagant, sculpted afros, the boy's only slightly smaller than the man's. There was a likeness in their faces, an anger in the boy waiting to be set on fire. All it needed was kindling. The eyes he turned on me were cool and curious, and unlike black boys I went to school with, he let his eyes rest right on mine. Back and forth, the boy paced across the quiet carpet. Every time he turned, his eyes flashed my way. I stepped back behind the rack of shirts. He kept glancing down at the pair of shiny loafers on his feet. He stepped off the carpet, and the loafers' hard soles clicked and clacked across the tiles. Long, easy strides. He paused at the shoe mirror, flexed his calf and looked down at the reflection, then pivoted away from me and glided back toward the man. The man cradled the shoebox in the crook of his elbow like a drum. He rapped an angry rhythm. His fingers beat out such an intricate pattern, like he had been playing that shoebox his whole life. I ain't got all day, he said to the boy. Some of us got to work for a living. Maybe he went on his break, said the boy. Yeah, said the man. He picked a convenient time. These shoes fit me fine. The boy pivoted and walked back in my direction. You said they were too small. I don't know, said the boy, looking up into my face again. Maybe they're exactly the ones I've been needing. The corner of his lip lifted into a smile, like me and him shared a joke. No, said the man. Hell no, we ain't about to settle for a pair of too tight loafers, shoes that pinch and bind your toes just because some salesman can't be bothered to wait on us. He stepped inside the dim alcove and raised his voice. Excuse me, could we get some service out here? That's when the cop appeared. Dressed all in gray, out of nowhere, he came strolling right past me and then across the carpet into the shoe department. Is there a problem here? The cop asked. He wasn't wearing a hat like some of them do, bald on top with a ring of hair. A pot belly flopped over his belt. Fat, but tall. A head taller than the other man, the cop seemed to lean right over top of him, but that didn't back the other man down one bit. Just as cool as can be, he stared up into the cop's face and then handed the cop the shoebox. Yeah, there is a problem. It seems your store clerks have a problem waiting on black people. He didn't show a trace of emotion. What I noticed then was his hair, how it seemed to erupt from his head in a gigantic, controlled explosion, a mushroom cloud. The cop glanced down at the shoebox in his hands. He looked left, right, apparently searching for the absent salesman. Finally, he set the box down on the display of men's dress shoes and walked away. After he had stepped out of earshot, the man in the afro looked over at the boy and said, "Rent a cop." So that's Ivy.